Hello, and you're very welcome to another podcast. I'm John Mann, and of course, this podcast is brought to you by Kerry Office Supplies. Office Supplies is based in West Kerry. For more information, email the guys at info@kerryofficesupplies.com. And tonight, we are here to talk about last weekend's Alliance Football League action and this weekend's Alliance Football League action. The games are going ahead, called off. So, really looking forward to chatting to the lads tonight. Tonight, I'm joined by Manny Ford, former Wexford footballer, and Kevin McGurdy, former Antrim footballer. So, we'll start off with yourself, Kev. How are you keeping?
I'm alive, John. Suppose that can be a good thing after watching that weekend of action, So looking forward to actually chatting to Matty about it and maybe some of the issues in around Congress as well. So it was a good weekend of action. Actually, I enjoyed some of the games, and to steal a line from Matty pre-conversation, you just couldn't really judge some of the games for all that conventional wisdom would have told us. It was certainly out the window in a lot of these games and a lot of the leagues. And I suppose when we look back after this weekend, we assess things just over halfway through the National League. Certainly in Divisions 1, 2 and 3, we're looking at, real battles for promotion. So it's going to be really interesting over the next couple of weeks to see what happens in them particular leagues.
And how did the 50th go, Kev?
50th was down to the 40th, John, and thanks to Matty and Johnny for their compliments. Matty Ford looks as old as Mr. Burns out of The Simpsons, but won't say nothing there.
I'm actually older than you, so I should be keeping my mouth shut. Anyway, I couldn't resist.
Mr. Matty Ford, how are you keeping?
Not a bother, John. Quite an off weekend, and like Kev, I know there was a lot of good games on the weekend. To be fair, the conditioning of some of these guys for this time of the year is pretty amazing, in fairness, and a lot of heavy pitches, and you just be hoping over the next couple of weekends, the last 2-3 rounds of the league, the pitches start to dry up, and I think we're going to see even better football again. But a lot of really good fare at the weekend. And
I believe you have a shout out for Body Bro, the sportswear company in Wexford.
Yeah. Look, I'm with Body Bro there a couple of years now at this stage, so no, we're flying. We're in with the likes of Kilmacud and UCD and places like that. So look at all good, and look at it's a job kind of that I suppose suits me. I'm going around meeting a lot of guys, a lot of sport people involved in literally in every sport, but obviously a lot of it is GAA, and you're talking football and you're talking hurling, 6-7 days a week. But look, that's fine. It's actually starting to pay a few bills now. It never did up to now, but it's actually starting to pay a few bills now. So look, at all good.
Happy days, and he's going to sponsor the Antrim senior footballers and support Kev's team.
Look, we're always up for doing a bit for the less fortunate. So look, we'll try and get maybe Wexford under our wing first, and then we'll start trying to take over the north.
Yeah, I think the people of Kiev are holding a fundraiser for the Antrim footballers. All right.
Oh lordy, good stuff, lads. Good stuff. Good to have you on board tonight. So we'll crack on with the action. We'll go from top to bottom, and we'll go with on Saturday night. You had Alliance Football League Division 1 round 4 action between Donegal and Tyrone. It was Donegal 2-10, Tyrone 12 points, and this game took place in Ballybuffet. And it was an intriguing game of football. Donegal just right at the net, real fighting spirit, and I think Tyrone will be disappointed with their second half performance to a degree. But to go through it all, Kevin McGurdy, what did you make of it?
Yeah, enjoyable game. One thing I would say about this game is people say goals win matches, but goals at the right time are heavily crucial, and I think Donegal got these goals at the right time in the game. Look, I don't know what it is with Tyrone. Obviously, you would always expect a small bit of All-Ireland hangover, but I mean, they just really haven't been at it yet. You would expect maybe give them a bit of gratis, maybe first game of the league, but they haven't come back well. Obviously, Conor McKenna not being about is a big issue to them. Being injured, obviously, you got a small run out in Donegal, which is good for them heading forward. Didn't start Cathal McShane. The welcome back, a number of the lads have been out the week before through suspension. But, I think it's the 8th time out of the last 12 meetings between these two teams that Donegal have beat Tyrone. So that's a stat I looked at the other day, today, which is, it's quite impressive from their point of view. Look, we can talk all day long about Tyrone. Let's start with Donegal. Firstly, I don't know where we can really go with Donegal at the minute without, when we talk about how important Michael Murphy is to them, it's now time for other people to step up to the mark really for Donegal. you know, and the one good thing that they'll take away from this game is the performance of Conor O'Donnell, and also young Gallen, when he came on, was exceptionally good. So I mean that's a good takeaway. They need more and more players to step up to the mark, to share that scoring mantle, or take on leadership roles that Michael Langan or maybe Patrick McBurty has had, or Ryan McHugh has had over the past 3 to 4 years. And it's good to see them young talents emerging. As I say, Tyrone sort of cantering a wee bit, heading towards half time, and then Donegal get this goal, and it sort of changes the whole optics of the game, going at half time, then coming out in the second half, you know. So for me, look, I don't really know where we're going with Donegal under Declan Bonner at the minute. I really don't. They'll always be in the mix over the next 2-3 years in the Ulster Championship. Nobody's writing them off per se. They'll stay in Division 1. I think they've enough quality to do that. But really, when we're talking where we see them going in the next 3 to 4 months, in terms of, are they All Ireland contenders? No, not for me. I just don't think they have the personnel at the minute. And with Murphy's such a big, you know, cog in that wheel, and without him, they just seem mediocre. So again, it's for other people to stand up. They stood up. Look, these were 2 points they needed. They'd obviously went to Kerry the week before. Took a bit of a pacing. Took a wee bit of you know, criticism in the media about their tactics. You know, that's fair enough. But, you know, to come back with a win against the All-Ireland champions, even though it was in, you know, their own back garden, look, it's a good win for them. It's a morale-boosting win for them. From Donegal perspective, I just don't know where they're going. I don't know if Mally agrees with me on that. And from a Tyrone perspective, look, again, they come off the back of a... Tyrone, realistically, at the minute, could have 0 points in this league. They were very fortunate to get away with a draw against Monaghan at home. Very fortunate to be on the right end of a result against Kildare. You know, their McKenna Cup wasn't overly great. I suppose that's after the away and holidays. But really, it's now time. Look, we're at the business end of the league here, and the championship will be right around the corner for them. And, you know, okay, Darren McCurry was coming back into a bit of form, which is good to see. Michael McKiernan kicking on 2 from cornerback, you know, which great game for him. Obviously, as I say, Conor McKenna got some game time. But, you know, Padraig McNulty, obviously a guy that was coming back into the team, maybe somebody that would be fresh this year and around the middle of the park. He gets a bad injury. So that's a wee bit of a setback for them. But realistically now, Tyrone have 3 cup finals left in this league. They have 3 points on the board after 4 games. It's not where they would want to be. It's not where we've probably foreseen them being. But, you know, when they've got Dublin to come, when they've got Kerry to come, and when they've got Mayo to come, you know, it's a tough ask of them, because Dublin are out for points and Kerry and Mayo want to finish in that top 2. So, you know, lots of unanswered questions about Tyrone at the minute. Look, they're cantering along. There's no doubts about their ability and quality. As I said in previous weeks with you, the squad depth isn't there. Obviously, Padraig McNulty having that injury, you know, further deepens that issue with the squad. But, you know, I just don't know where Tyrone are going at the minute. I think they need a serious wake-up call. I think they need a big performance in the next 2 weeks. Maybe Dublin, maybe Kerry is that performance. Maybe they need somebody like Kerry to rock into town and the real Tyrone that we seen last season. That team, that cohesion, that intensity to come back into it. I suppose Tyrone are just cantering along. So, you know, we really need to see that. But 2 points for Donegal. They're safe in Division 1, but I don't think they're going anywhere.
Interesting take there. Kev, what about yourself, buddy?
Yeah, it's very hard to disagree with an awful lot of that. Like, there's 2 different Donegal teams, the one with and the one without Michael Murphy. And clearly the one without is a poorer team. But, you know, they were reasonably good the other night. But we kind of said last week that, you know, they probably had maybe given up on the 2 points down in Killarney, and this was kind of a must-win for them. And it was a must-win, because if they hadn't won here, they were really staring relegation in the face. But, you know, they did just about get over the line, and, you know, a lot of guys did play well. You know, what we'd say that some of the lesser guys, particularly Conor O'Donnell, and obviously what Kevin said, Oisin Gallen was exceptional when he went on. He really went straight down the middle at Tyrone. But, like, even I think it was one of the Donegal goals was very on Tyrone, like where McBrearty gave a ball inside and just waltzed through a couple of defenders and took the ball back. Like usually you don't get that luxury again, Tyrone. Somebody is going to get in your way. But I actually think about Tyrone that they won't be too worried. Like they did go down, they were relegated a few years back. I think they ended up beating, I think maybe Kildare in Division 2 league final and coming back up. They'd be one of the teams in Division 1 who wouldn't be overly worried if they were relegated. But I do think they're a team, haven't seen what they've done with Kerry last year in the league and then come back to Indollar, and I think they're a team that could turn this around pretty quick. But it is just a bit strange that the likes of Colin McShane is not getting more game time. He obviously hasn't played a lot over the last 18 months, and that they're not trying to kind of get him back up to speed, particularly when they are down a couple of guys like Conor McKenna and McCurry only coming back to getting back into it as well. So, but I wouldn't be too worried if I was Tyrone. They've really tough league games coming up, but I think actually it wouldn't really bother Brian Dewar and Fergal Logan if they were relegated. Look, they're not going to want to be. They want the good quality games next year in Division 1, but I really don't think they'd actually be too worried were they to go down. They're not going to want to, but Kevin is spot on. They will raise their game for the likes of a Kerry or the likes of a Dublin coming to Healy Park or having to go to Croke Park maybe to play Dublin. They'll be that's what they thrive on, and on a bit of adversity. And they're under a bit of pressure. Monaghan, and it's only Monaghan and Dublin below them in Division 1. If Dublin lose again, they look like they're doomed. But I think probably Donegal at this stage are looking pretty safe, and I think Tyrone will be able to get a win and maybe get even a draw out somewhere that'll keep them up. But I wouldn't be overly worried if I was Tyrone. I think they are one team in Division 1 that can turn things really quickly.
There we go, lads. There we go. And moving on to Sunday's action in the Division 1 round 4, you had Kildare 112, Dublin 12 points in Newbridge. So, Matty, this probably result was coming. And what to really say with the Dubs?
Yeah, look, it was all set up for Kildare, wasn't it? In fairness, we had spoke about them over the last couple of weeks on here that they were good in round 1 against Kildare, and I'm sure they were kicking themselves, and we said this coming down the road from Oma last week that they didn't get a win. They were fully deserved of a win up there as well. So I'm sure that they knew they weren't too far away. But look, at Dublin kind of rocked into town, I think, pretty vulnerable, and Kildare tore into them from the start and were pretty ruthless in the first half, and probably should have been a little bit further ahead. But they were kind of hanging on at the end. They got a lucky enough goal, I would say, and that was the difference in winning and losing the game. Dublin would have probably got a draw, and maybe would have even snuck it at the end without that goal. But I do think they were deserving of their win. And that's a huge shot in the arm for them, because that's 3 really good performances now against Dublin, Tyrone, and Kerry. So they're still on 3 points. They're still far from safe. But Newbridge is going to be a tough place to play, and they have a lot of really good players. Look, we've obviously mentioned Flynn and Highland and players like this on here before, but there really are. Kildare have always been a team that are thereabouts, but they did seem to lack a bit up front. If you took Johnny Doyle off a lot of the really good Kildare teams, they were struggling for scoring power, and I think now with the players they have remedied that, and these will be a match for anyone. And I was actually amazed, and I couldn't. It's the first time in 22 years they've beaten Dublin. It's really hard to believe, even allowing for Dublin's dominance over the last decade, but 22 years is pretty amazing, and you can see that coming out. And I think that will be a big shot in the arm, and I think by some distance to now the second best team in Leinster are getting pretty close to Dublin, by the virtue of Meath have fell into oblivion, along with probably even Westmeath to a lesser extent. But Kildare, I think, are a team that are definitely going in the right direction. They couldn't have got 4 more iconic men over the team, and I think Glenn Ryan, Anthony Rainbow, Johnny Doyle, and Dermot Earley. And if guys in Kildare aren't going to play for them, but I think they're a really good setup. I think they're a really good team. They're physically in serious condition, the same as all Kildare teams have, as long as I can remember Kildare playing against Kildare. But they now have the footballers to go with that, and I think they're going to be a match for anyone in Leinster this year. But Dublin, look at Jesus, I don't know. I think people are saying there's no need for panic. I think, to be honest, the crisis is only probably deepening. There is good players to come back. O'Callaghan, obviously, James McCarthy, Costello, Paddy Small, but it just looks so clueless kind of from midfield up. And two rounds ago, you had guys, Davy Byrne and players like this, Mick Fitzsimons on the half forward line, hand passing the ball sideways, and you had Kieran Kilkenny picking up the ball inside his own half back line, and the whole thing seems to be back to front. And if anything were to happen to Kilkenny or maybe even Brian Fenton, I think it could be a very long, short summer for Dublin. I think they're really struggling, and unlike Tyrone, I don't see them being a team that can turn it around very quickly. The whole thing looks to be looks to be gone a little bit sour there. And as I said, I think they're could be in a bit of trouble. Definitely, obviously in the league campaign, but even there's still a great chance of getting out Leinster. But are the real All-Ireland contenders? I think there's probably at the moment. It doesn't say they can't win it, but there's probably at least 2, if not 3 teams ahead of them.
Okay, what about yourself? 4 losses in a row. There's been calls to bring in a B championship. It really is. You really would feel sorry for the Dubs.
Yeah, I think Desi Farrell has been phoning Vladimir Putin this week to get some advice. But to be quite honest with you, I think Matty hit the nail on the head, really. We talk about Newbridge or nowhere. Dublin were nowhere compared to the Dublin team we knew of the past. No cohesion, no leaders, and that's a big thing to say when you have people like Kilkenny and Fenton in around that squad. Even someone like Mick Fitz, who's been about for a long, long time. The one thing that really got me, and I'll come on to this as we go further on down the games. Really, really important to get a good start in games, and really important to finish strongly. Dublin just never really got out of the traps in this game. 8-4 down at half time. They were always crawling, an uphill battle. Yes, we'll come on to Kildare in a second, but look, Dublin look lost. They look leadership rudderless. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I called it a crisis 2 matches ago because it wasn't, as I said to you before, about their squad or the great players that they have. It's just, I don't know, the environment just doesn't seem to be right. They just didn't seem to want to be in Kildare or in Newbridge, to be honest with you. Some of them are going through the motions. Matty Ford, one of the great corner forwards of our time, I think he would probably be licking his lips to play against this Dublin defence. 16, 18 months ago, would he be saying that when the likes of Philip McMahon and these boys were about? No chance he would have been, So, at the back, they're not at all strong. They're not at all as aggressive as they were before. And, when you take that aggression, that hunger out of this Dublin team, then, you're letting other people in. And certainly Kildare took advantage of that in the first half. In terms of Kildare, yeah, they've played 4 games in Division 1. Coming up, they're obviously favourites to go down. 3 really good performances, as Matty said. They've sort of made Newbridge. They've took 3 points out of Newbridge out of 4. So they'll be looking at the next couple of games. Maybe the next home game to see if they can get another couple of points to keep them up in this league. It's important maybe for Kildare to stay in this league because they've been yo-yoing for a couple of years. Maybe over the last half decade, been yo-yoing. So to get that consistency of good games in Division 1 every year is important. They won the 21s, Matty, just keep me right, 3 years ago. They won the Leinster 21s.
3, I think. I think it was 3
years ago. So, I mean, they have a couple of young pups coming up there, maybe 22, 23, 24 now that can lead this team on. Yes, of course, they're getting inspiration from the 4 guys in the line who are obviously, dyed in the world Kildare legends and motivating these guys. But, when you've got a guy in there like Daniel Flynn, he's like a gorilla beating out trees. He just looks, the guy is, he looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's just a sculptor of a guy, like he's chiseled out of the mountains, but he can play ball too, and he's a big, strong lad. You get the ball quick and early into him, he's going to cause anybody danger in there. And when you've got a predator off him like Highland, really impressed with this kid. Really impressed. He's scoring freely all year in the 4 games so far, really consistently scoring, against very good defenders as well. So, credit where it's due there. And, Kildare will have an uphill battle to stay up still. But if they can take 2 points in their next game, maybe in Newbridge, who knows? But for Dublin, I can't see. I still think they're in the top 4 teams in the country, but for me, they're not all Ireland contenders at the minute. I don't think the environment's right. And, the next game, I think they go to Monaghan next game around, and that's going to be a real humdinger battle.
Kildare always had good forwards, Kev.
Yeah, they did.
Say it.
I'll plead the 5th at this stage.
Jelly. Next game, lads. Dr. Hyde Park, Mayo 15 points, Armagh 110. And Matty, Johnny Morta was a very quiet man yesterday.
Yeah, look, we kind of said the other night that this would tell us exactly where Armagh would at. To be honest, I don't think it really has lowered their stock too much. To be fair, I know it wasn't a home game for Mayo, but they had more home comforts, I think, there than Armagh would have had. But like Mayo only won this game at the very death, so Armagh would have to be happy enough with where they're at. I'm sure. Look at Kildare would have took 5 points after 4 games. I think he took hand in all, looking at the fixture list they had. Away to Dublin and away to Mayo. So I think they'll be happy enough, and a home obviously to the All Ireland champions. So I still think Armagh are definitely going in the right direction, and I think it's up. But Mayo, it just doesn't really matter. Seem to matter who to put on the pitch. They will keep playing the same way. They'll keep driving forward. They'll keep going for the jugular. The last point is a typical Mayo at the moment, where they turned the ball over under their own post, and Gaten O'Shea caught it from a long Rian O'Neill free, and they worked it around, and eventually when they got out, and the 3-4 guys sprinted the length of the field, and Paddy Durkin obviously was the one who got on the end of it. But they just want to run straight down the middle at you all the time. And to say, Armagh looked a bit in trouble when Mayo ran at them. Every team in the country is in trouble when a team runs at them. No defenders like defending facing their own goal. You want to have your back to goal and be able to keep guys outside you. But Mayo are right in the picture again, I think. So much so we're not even mentioned that Killian O'Connor is still not around. I think it's a fair play to James Horn and the guys he has around him, and all these young fellas he's brought in who really, really put their shoulder to the wheel. And obviously O'Donoghue was one of the very obvious ones, but the likes of Paddy Durkin is still churning out top quality performances. He's good for a couple of scores every day. But Mayo will be fairly happy with where they're at. They're going in the right direction, and as they start filtering back in more guys into the team, these Mayo are a proper threat going forward for the rest of the year. But as I said, I do really still think Armagh are going in the right direction, and they'll be more than happy with their start of the league, and to look to have secured their Division 1 status again for next year. And I think that's they need to stay there. They probably need to stay there. And Kevin said similar to Kildare, those two teams need to stay there a lot more than the likes of maybe a Tyrone. For a couple of years, Tyrone will come straight back up. One of these teams may not, but I think Armagh are still right in the picture, and they're certainly in the picture for Ulster.
Definitely, Maddie. And what about yourself, Kev? James Horn stole the apples from the orchard.
Yeah, well, we'll come to Mayo in a second. The only thing I would say, Maddie's 100% right here about Armagh being competitive. The performances every week are consistently good against top-level teams. They're thereabouts. My only problem, as I said this a couple of weeks ago to you, these are the sort of games that Armagh under McGeeney have been losing out on. 1 or 2 or 3 points here and there. Even in Ulster Championship games, they've been losing out in them. They've sort of turned over Tyrone in recent times. They should have turned over Monaghan at home in the last game out. They need to just get that, grind out of victory, grind out a win. And that's the big thing. I mean, that character, there's no doubt their trajectory is heading upwards, that the project is going places, that they're going to be around for a long time this summer. And when we look at the other side of it, Mayo are the story of National Football League Division 1. They are the story of it, because at the start of the year, if you had asked any man, woman or child in this island, what sort of state Mayo football was in after another gut-wrenching loss last year, Aidan O'Shea getting older, Durkin getting older, Rob Henley getting older, Keegan getting older, the age-old issues of Mayo having players out with injury, then the whole Tommy Conroy issue happens, So, Mayo have been incredibly good. They've been keeping their head down. Matty said it there with regards to O'Donoghue up front and taking on that leadership, still Killian O'Connor to come back. But really, for me, Mayo are the story of Division 1. Nobody would have seen this coming, 7 points out of 8. They look good both at home and away. Their performance in Croke Park was something that we hadn't seen from Mayo in a long time, in my opinion, inside Croke Park. It was so passionate, it was so intense. For them to come back where they've come from last year, really, really impressive. The only thing I would say about Mayo, let me caveat it, this is Mayo. Peak too soon, peak too far. I think they've a lot of depth in their squad, don't get me wrong. And they've a lot of young lads now, you look at Loftus and Ruan in the middle of the park. They're young. They're still a wee bit wet behind the ears, but they're learning very quickly. And sorry, the last point I was going to make about Mayo, and indeed James Horan. I like the way I called this last year after the All-Ireland final. I didn't think Aidan O'Shea had 70 minutes in him anymore. I think he's been on the road a long time. He's taken a lot of hits. He's been a great servant of Mayo football. But the way that James Horan is managing him, the way that throughout the league thus far, needs to be complimented. He puts him in at times. You know, I think that he's only maybe 20, 25 minutes. He's an impact player now, a huge impact player, no matter where you play him at. You know, I think, Mally, it was yourself mentioned it in the show last week that I watched, that he came on, absolutely bursted Mike Fitzsimons through a wall, you know. And so I'm really impressed with the way James Horan's managing him as well. So, look, Mayo are back in there. They're back in the mix. And, you know, big issue is what sort of Mayo we're going to get inside Croke Park.
We'll have to wait and see, Kev. We'll have to wait and see. In the next game in Inniskeen, you'd Kerry 3-14, Monaghan 1-12. And Kev, rumour has it, Rory Beggan is still down in Inniskeen running about the pitch.
Oh, man, where do you start with this? Where do you start?
Where'd you finish?
Bruce Scrabble, Jr., huh? I don't know where you go with this. This was a game, I was actually really interested to hear Johnny Murdoch's thoughts in this last week as a guy who's, you know, maybe coaching down there in Monaghan, why Monaghan brought this game to Inniskeen, because I think that's an important point. Big, wide open pitch rather than inside Clonus. A pitch that sort of suited Kerry. Again, Kerry's forward line being potent. Okay, Monaghan get that start, but then all of a sudden Kerry are back in the game, and it's the way you finish a game. And look, very little to be said about this game, but Kerry are just ticking all the boxes at the minute. They're doing what they have to do. They're going to places, you know. Okay, they're still working on their defence. The middle of the park is improving week upon week, but up front they're just so potent, so potent. You know, there's no team in the country has the resources they do, including, you know, Dublin when they get everybody back. This is just a potent forward line. From a Monaghan perspective, look, they're in a real dogfight now. The one thing I'll say about Monaghan is, so on Monaghan, like, they're in a league now where they've picked up points away from home. And actually, Monaghan at home, which was usually their fortress, their strong point, hasn't been so strong this year. So they're going to have one more game at home. I think it's Dublin they have coming there. They need to make that count. They need to make that count. I think more than any other teams bar Dublin, they're in the biggest trouble. So it's, look, they have 3 big games ahead of them. And the other thing I would say about Monaghan is Monaghan need Division 1 football. Monaghan can't afford to drop to Division 2. They need that. That's why Monaghan have been so competitive over the last 7, 8, 10 years in the Ulster Championship. They're getting good quality games every week. And, you know, they need Division 1. Probably bar Kildare, they're the team that needs it most in Division 1. So, look, bait on answered questions for them. We're talking about, you know, Monaghan without McManus going forward. I'm going to steal Matty's point off board here. Maybe Jack McCrone, Conor McCarthy, Ryan McAnespy, especially Kieran Hughes, who's a lot of talent in him, need to step up to the mark now for Monaghan over the next couple of weeks. But these next 3-4 games, they will be the backbone of Monaghan's season. If they go pear-shaped, I don't think Monaghan will really challenge in the Ulster Championship this year. If they do not go pear-shaped and Monaghan get a bounce, then we could see a real competitive Monaghan in the Ulster Championship and then moving further on into Croke Park.
And what impact is Liam Sheedy having on this Monaghan team, Kev?
Well, we don't know. You asked me last year about when Kieran Donaghy came in, what he was going to bring to Armagh. I think we're seeing some of what Kieran Donaghy's bringing to Armagh, certainly in terms of his forward impact.
Yeah.
We don't know Liam Sheedy's remit. We can only speculate. There's no doubts the guy he's a proven winner. I think by profession he's an area bank manager, so he's probably a very good people person. He's maybe working one-on-one with players, maybe psychology. I'm not sure. So we can only speculate on his impact. But look, Bounty has obviously seen something that he thinks Liam Sheedy can do. He wouldn't bring him in there otherwise. So, you know, maybe we're not, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We don't really know. Maybe we're not seeing the full picture here thus far. Maybe it's further on down the line in the season. Liam's been, okay, maybe in quite a similar sport, but albeit a different sport in hurling. He's been round the block. He knows, that the season is not judged by 1 or 2 or 3 games. So, look, we can only, as I say, speculation is speculation. For me, I would just hold my powder dry on that until the season's over to see what sort of impact he's had on Monaghan. Has he improved Monaghan? Has he in any way contributed to the psychological setup, working one-on-one with players? So that'll all be told at season's end.
I think it's to see a game out there, you're winning by 7 points. I think that's the impact he's having so far. But we'll have to wait and see. And Matty, what about yourself?
Look, you were playing Kerry at home. You don't want to be handing them 3 goals. You're just not going to win. And it was after the good start. It was very flat by Monaghan. Like Jesus, this I don't know this thing of these goalkeepers coming out. And look, I'm just not a fan of it. We were talking about it briefly there off air. I just don't think that the payoff is worth the risk when we're seeing it happening. Like and this is going to happen more and more. It's like when I suppose Stephen Cluxton was the original one who came out, start taking frees and 45s. It's happening in every pitch up and down the country now at this stage, and everybody thinks they can be a Niall Morgan or Rory Beggan. But Kevin, I think, kind of mentioned earlier on, Rory Beggan is not the most comfortable on the ball. Now look at the 3 goals probably weren't his fault yesterday. He was standing looking at a turnover for one of them anyway when he was in the middle of the field. But it was one, I think it was a clip on League Sun last night where one of the balls was going in over his head, and the whole team, you could just see shoulders dropping. And a beating like that at home, where they're traditionally really, really hard to beat, it could have a big impact on them. If it's Dublin they're playing in round 5 and they don't win it, they're looking at relegation. And Kildare is 100% right. They're one of the 2 teams who really need to stay in Division 1. It's what's had them as competitive as they have been over the last decade. But the only thing is they will probably go back to Clones to play Dublin. They will have decent memories of playing Dublin and Clones over the last few years. But they will smell blood, look at the same as everyone else, and they will see this as a great chance. But Jesus, getting beaten that comprehensively at home, I know it's by Kerry, but that's not the ideal preparation. You could have a couple of weeks going into that game, but Kerry were all over them, and we haven't spoke too much about Kerry. Look, we probably don't need to Kerry, and they're tipping along very nicely. They're starting to get a quite settled look to them. With if it's going to be Dermot O'Connor and Jack Barry in the middle of the field, or quite a tasty midfield. O'Connor's a huge addition there, an excellent footballer, an athlete, and the defence is now looking that little bit meaner. I seen Jack O'Connor last night saying they were really annoyed about conceding the goal, albeit from a penalty, but said they had a nice little record going of not having conceded a goal in the league yet this year. So there is that little bit of fire in the defence, and it's starting to look a little bit more settled than it has over the last couple of years, and that bit meaner as well. So I'm sure they'll be happy enough where they're at the moment. But I think Monaghan are looking a little bit of trouble for me.
John, can I just say one thing about Kerry? In my own club WhatsApp group there with a few friends, my brother Kieran said this year he can't see Kerry being beaten. But this is the big problem with Kerry. They've let us down each of the last 4 years. Yeah. Everything, the ship looks as if it's sailing beautifully at the minute. But, the only time we'll ever judge this Kerry team is when they get inside Croke Park, and they've let us down. And look, I'm the biggest Kerry fan in the world, but this is a team with 5 All-Ireland minors, 4 All-Ireland under-21s. We've got guys coming back from the Aussie rules. They have an abundance of talent, so it's now or never for them. Really, this has to be a really consistent year for Kerry. I think that obviously they've got someone that knows how to steer that ship and Jack back. They've obviously got someone who's very defensive, and Paddy Talley coming in there in defensive wise. But really, we can talk all day long, myself and Matty and yourself, or anybody on the World Wide Web about Kerry. It's when they get inside to that quarter-final, semi-final that we're going to see what this Kerry team is made of.
It has to be now or never, because Dublin obviously have regressed a hell of a lot. Tyrone haven't been able to put 2 together, and obviously Mayo have their own struggles in getting over the line. So I think if Kerry don't win it this year, I think it has to be now or never for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely. And moving on to Division 2 on Saturday in round 4, the first game of the weekend in Burnamona O'Connell Park was Offaly 110, Meath 110. A draw between 2 teams that are probably struggling for form at the minute, Matty, but a point nonetheless.
Yeah, look at that. We said it the other night. I didn't know if a point was any use to either team here, to be honest. Down Mead had got a draw with Down the previous week as well, and it's only put them on to 2 points. It's put Offaly onto 1, so it's still, it's the division of 2 halves. You have the bottom 4 teams on a point, bottom 3 on a point apiece, and then Mead on 2, and they've obviously some tough games to come. But I really don't think a point was any use to either of them. 2 of them are really struggling. The only good thing for them is Down look doomed. So there's probably a place for one of them to stay in the division, but it's going to be a dogfight from here between the 4 of those teams in the bottom of Division 2 from here till the end of the league, because it's not getting any easier for them apart from when they play each other. And look at the couple of games that have been between them. No one looks like they actually are able to actually go and bloody win one of them. So a win for either one of those in the next week or two nearly assures any of the 4 of them of being safe the way Division 2 was going. But look at it wasn't pretty again, but at least look at it's something for Offaly to grab onto. It's their first point in the league, but as I said, I don't think a draw was much use to either, to be honest, other than the fact that it keeps Mead just ahead of Offaly and Cork and Down for that matter in the table.
Absolutely, Matty, absolutely. The next game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, you had Galway 3-22, Cork 2-17, and Kevin, were you watching this one?
Yeah, defences at sea, 3-22, 2-17. The guy who paid us €14, or if it was a Cavan man, €7 because he claimed he was an OAP. He got his money worth down there. So I mean, look. Galway are the team in this league that I don't know about. I think Matty had said the last time maybe he was on with him that Galway were the team that he maybe thought would go up. I just don't know about them. They can be Jekyll and Hyde at times. And obviously, look, it's never an easy place to go down. Again, it's not the first time I mentioned it here. Keith Ricken is a guy I would have came across when he was at Cork IT and I was at Queen's. Really good guy taking Cork. He knows that that's a long-term project. He was on the GAA social this week on BBC Northern Ireland. Brilliant listen. Realistic guy. Got into a county that, let's remember, these 2 counties won All-Ireland's, less than 20 years ago. And here they are stuck in 2, not really going to beat the glass ceiling this year, either the 2 of them, if we're realistic about it. But Keith Ricken's a guy in there that he can bring Cork football forward. I still think Cork have enough quality over the line. I think they will beat Down. And I think they have a game against Offaly coming up as well. So I still think they'll stay in this league. Galway, on the other hand, is the big unknown. I really do have to wonder what Galway is going to turn up, against the Roscommon or against the Mayo in the Connacht Championship coming forward. Can they get up from this league? Obviously they can. Yep, they've good quality up front. I've seen them play against Down. Not great to judge against, given the form that Down are in. But, they're scoring freely up front, which is good. Galway's problem maybe a wee bit similar to Kerry. They concede a lot, and you can see that with the 2-17 have conceded. So, for me, I don't know about Galway going up. I'm really honest. I think Derry are the standout team. Matty's maybe going to come on to talk about them in a second, but they're the standout team. Maybe Roscommon and Galway just after it. But, Galway should be a Division 1 team. But as I say, we need to see more consistency from them. We really do. They have to tick all the boxes in Division 2. They're doing that so far. But my issue is I think there might be a wee stumbling block ahead for them in the next week or two.
Absolutely. In the next game in Park Esler, you'd Roscommon 118, Down 10 points, and as Kev says, Matty, Down were pretty down after this game.
Yeah, look, it was nearly over before it started. Like we said on here the other night, we felt that Roscommon would go there and win, but I don't think anyone thought it was going to be as comprehensive or as easy as it was. And look, we've been saying now for a couple of weeks, Down are in really trouble, and Roscommon are a team obviously that are really looking at pushing on to Division 1, but it's looking ominous for Down in this division. I know they have a couple of games left among the bottom half of that division among themselves, but it's a long way back for Down from here. To really need a couple of the Kilcoo guys in. I don't know if or how many are going to go in, but it's similar to Dublin. It's a really tough place to go into now. Confidence at an all-time low. We mentioned off air there about the crowd or the lack of atmosphere in Park Esler. on Saturday evening, and like probably actually every bit as many people from Roscommon in it as there was from Down, and I've played up there a couple of times, and you certainly wouldn't be the away team outnumbering the home side anyway, but they're just in serious trouble. Every time Roscommon ran at them, they looked like they were going to score, and it could have even been a lot more convincing than it was. To me, Down are heading down. I know Kevin said this a couple of weeks back as well, but to really look to be heading for the trapdoor and back to Division 3, and that's not where Down want to be, and it's certainly not any good for Ulster. Down have been one of the teams over the years in Ulster who could put it up to any of them, but they've fell a long way away from there at the moment, and it looks to be all in a really bad state there at the moment. But Roscommon are really tipping along really nicely, and there's some really interesting games coming up in the top half of that division. Galway, Roscommon and Derry have all to play each other over the next few weeks, and that's going to be really, really interesting to see. Obviously only two of the three of those can go up. I'm not Clare, I think they're only on 4 points after 4. That defeat the weekend will really hurt them in terms of promotion, but I think it's down now to 2 from 3 in the top of Division 2 as well.
Kev, I'd say Stevie Poacher was having a heart attack seeing the Roscommon lads play attacking brand of football.
I spoke to Stevie on Saturday night. I don't think he'd mind me saying this. We exchanged some texts about it. Look, I'd be a massive supporter of Down football. I would have went when I was younger, obviously 91, 94, when I was growing up, but also to watch a lot of the club games in Down. And lads, to be honest with you, this is a real big story in the GAA. I mean, how far Down have fallen. I mean, okay, come away from Conor Lavery in the 20s last year. They've done really well, got the All-Ireland semi-final. The bottom has fallen out of Down football. And like more than any other, probably, bar possibly Tyrone, no other county outside of Dublin has more resources in terms of schools, real good teachers in schools, real proud clubs. Down's this is a story that, Down GAA needs to get its act together. I know the chairman there very well, Jack Devaney, from my time at Queen's. He was there with me. Jack's a progressive guy, but look, it's time now that, real good people like maybe Ross Carr, the Paddy Rocks of this world, they got together and, DJ Keynes, get this show on the road. I have a lot of time for James McCartan, right? As you know, and Aidan O'Rourke. But basically they took the job because Down had nobody else. It was a last minute job. Nobody wants to take the job. Nobody wants to go in there. And it's heartbreaking because this, Matty rightly pointed out, like this is the brand of football. Okay, we go back in time and it's history and whatever else, but this is a proud county, 61, 68. We're talking about great players like Sean O'Neill. These guys were the playboys of modern football. When we even look at 91, 94 team, they had a swagger about them. They love playing football, and now what we're seeing from Down is there's no game plan, there's no kick-out strategy. You can blame that on James and Aidan, that's fair enough. But look, they just don't have the players to deal with. I mean, the quality of player in Down over the last decade is light and day. Remember, they got the All-Ireland final in 2010. Guys like Mark Poland about, what a footballer. Benny, obviously, Dan Gordon, great warrior there. These guys, like... And
Marty Clark.
Marty Clark. You come forward a generation. And like what I seen on Saturday night was... It was horrid. It was horrid to watch.
Kevin, can I just ask, like, in the likes of Wexford, it's pretty obvious the struggles Wexford are having with football because it's a football v hurling thing. It's not a football v hurling thing in Down. So, I suppose briefly, what is going on? Is the players not there? Is the coach not there? Is the underage coaching structures not there? What, I suppose, in short, what is the problem? Because they look like a county to me who's set up. Their football is obviously the predominant sport in it. There's a lot of really, as you say, really good, really big, proud clubs, and obviously a lot of really good schools and colleges. So what the hell is going on?
I don't know, Manny. I suppose that's the point I'm trying to make. It's a $64 million question in this. Like when you look at the McCrory Cup, the pinnacle of schools football in Ulster, you have Downpatrick. Okay, maybe they play just in the B competition, but I think they have a McCrory Cup back in the day. They're a real proud school, always producing players. You had Louis Kilkeel, who got the final when Marty Clark was there. They were beat in the final by the Abbey, who you know, another, you know, very proud school, traditional school. Kevin McKiernan played in that team against them. You've got Coleman's, obviously. Mooney won, I think it was 2 or 3 Hogan Cups in a row. There's 4 schools in Down producing players every year. Then there's one on the edge of Belfast and Pat Snock, you know, which is now started to play McCrory Cup football for the first time in the A competition. It's producing players. So, as I said to you, there's 5 schools producing players. It's not about player pool and talent. It's what they're doing maybe between the ages of 15 and 18, where they're getting to. They haven't won an Ulster Minor. Just keep me right on this. They haven't won an Ulster Minor since '99 when they won the All-Ireland.
Jesus.
So they won an Ulster under-21. Pete McGrath took them to an Ulster 21, maybe 2007-8. And then Conor Lavery wins one last year with them. But now, you have to caveat that some of the boys in the Newry schools are Armagh-based.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are proud schools, Matty. And look, I can't put my hand on what you've just said, but I can't answer your question straight up. It's a $64 million question. I mean, people in Ulster are going, what the hell is happening here and down? You know, Bar Cavan, nobody has more All-Irelands. Bar Cavan, probably nobody has more passion or tradition. And so I don't know. I really don't know, but it's really alarming.
Looks very broken from the outside, and look at obviously none of these things are a quick fix, because look at Derry were in a not dissimilar place, you know, only a couple of years back, and for a good number of years. But to be fair to them, they've certainly got their house in order, and they're going back in the right direction at a rate of knots. But you know, Down are going the other direction, I'm afraid.
Look, Manny, the only reason I brought it up is because it's really alarming, and I mean that it's really alarming how, if there's any team in Ireland, bar traditional teams, Offaly, Meath and Down are the ones you were saying are at the minute are look, they need serious attention.
Very definitely, yeah, of course.
Talking about Derry, you had in Cusack Park, Ennis, you had Derry 2-13, Clare 10 points, and another convincing win for Rory Gallagher and Derry, Matty.
A serious win. You know, we talked a good bit about this the other night, and you know, Johnny, in fairness to him, tipped up Derry. I actually thought, shows what I know, that Clare actually would turn Derry over, but we also did say, to be fair, that this would tell us exactly where Derry are at, and I think it has told us exactly where they're at. They're a serious team, and they're really going the right direction. And obviously, you know, between Donegal and Fermanagh, Gallagher is probably more known for his defensive football, but you know, they're playing really, really good football. Obviously, to have the players to do it, which is a huge help. But you know, I think along with Mayo, Derry are the story of the National League so far. You know, they're cruising. Obviously, their 3 big games, or their 2 big games against Roscommon and Galway are to come in rounds, I think 6 and 7 or 5 and 7. But you know, they look the real deal. You know, anything that's been thrown at them so far. I think they could be home to Galway in round 5. I'm not 100% sure about that, but they will take beating at home. I know that for a fact. And I think, you know, it's going to come down, I think, to the Galway Roscommon game in that division. I think Derry are going to go up, and I think the other one is going to be between Galway and Roscommon, probably whoever wins that game. But you know, Derry are looking the real deal, and you know, as I said, we said off air, I think as well, it's really hotting up to be a really, really exciting Ulster Championship, where, you know, I know you had probably Tyrone, Donegal there for a couple of years, a bit ahead of maybe Tyrone, and then everybody else was falling in behind. But you know, you have Armagh coming, you have Derry coming. You know, it's all setting itself up nicely for an Ulster Championship this year. But you know, to me, they're the story of the league so far, and I think they're heading back to Division 1. And you know what a story that is. You know, it's only 3-4 years ago they're in Division 4, and it was all doom and gloom. But you know, the exact opposite to Down. They've really got their house in order, and geez, you know, it's great to see. You know, I think Ulster and the All Ireland Championship needs a good and competitive Derry, and I think we certainly have it now again.
We definitely do. And moving on to the Division 3 lads in Aughrim, you had Limerick 1-13, Wicklow 1-9, and Kev, Limerick got the win in the Lions Den.
Yeah, I followed this game a bit actually. It was the first game on Saturday. So I was following a good bit. Wicklow got off to a quick enough start, and then all of a sudden just collapsed, and by half time Limerick had a run on them, and it was a wee bit nip and tug in the second half, but really important for Limerick to get back on the horse after what happened in the week before against Louth. You know, they'd gone to Antrim, got such a good win, and then, you know, getting beat beat at home to Louth was a big one, albeit in what seemed drastic conditions down there. I think the pitch and stuff was changed before throw in. So, you know, they wouldn't have been happy with that. Look, they're in the driving. Limerick are in the driving seat in Division 2 at the minute. Okay, other teams have games in hand, but, you know, when we assess things looking forward, you know, when Westmeath and certainly Laois play Limerick, they're not going to get it easy. On the flip side of that, look, Wicklow we're always going to be punching in this league, and certainly they seem to be the whipping boy. Fermanagh win against Longford doesn't really help them in any way. They're going to find it very, very difficult to get points over the next couple of weeks. I think they've still to play Louth as well. So, you know, that league is really, really hotting up if you look at it. You know, I think Limerick lead the way on 6 points, and, you know, Fermanagh now have 3 points, you know, which are second bottom. So very little in between them teams. Some teams have games to catch up on. I think Laois and Fermanagh have to play one another in Fermanagh. So that's going to tell a lot for Laois as well moving forward. But, you know, Billy Lee'd be happy enough. He'd be really if they'd have won that game against Louth, they were in the driving seat for promotion after the results that's been had in that league. So he'd be happy to get the win, especially going to Wicklow. The way that, you know, they didn't get off to the best of starts, but then all of a sudden, I think they kicked on it was 1-8, I think maybe not 6 or something like that at half time. So they kicked on, and in the second half, you know, it was sort of even Steven. So look, Limerick will be a match for anybody, and they'll be happy enough, as I say, job done, win under the belt, put what happened the week before them behind. But really, again, very similar to what I said there about Galway, very similar about Monaghan. The next 2 weeks is going to be vital for Limerick in terms of their push for promotion.
Definitely, Kev, definitely. And in the next game in MW Higher O'Moore Park, you had Laois 1-8, Antrim 1-8. So, Matty, on an absolutely enthralling game of football here.
Yeah, you know, this was a big game for both of them, obviously, but I think, you know, Laois will be kicking themselves. You know, we've been saying here, anytime we're on, you have to win your home games in the league. You know, we mentioned about Monaghan earlier on having a poor home record, but, you know, Laois really needed to be getting 2 points here. But, you know, Antrim have bounced back well from getting beaten home by Limerick, and, you know, as similar to Louth, they're after coming back really strong, and, you know, they probably could have actually snuck it in the end, but, you know, a horrible night up there, you know, gale wind blowing as well. I think Antrim will obviously be far the happier. You know, they've moved into second place in that league. With that, you know, they've had a really good, probably last couple of rounds. I'd say, you know, Antrim are happy enough where they are. Like West, they have Limerick and Antrim on top of that. I know there's games in hand there for Westmeath, Laois, Fermanagh and Longford, and, you know, I don't think Longford are probably going to cause a lot of problems in this league. But you know, there's a lot of teams in this division are going to take points of each other, and there's going to be a good few twists and turns in Division 3. I think before this is played out, we actually find out who is going up. As Kevin said rightly, if Limerick had got that home win against Louth, they were looking like pretty certain for promotion. But, you know, that defeat has pulled them right back into the pack, and I think there's going to be a few more of those over the next few weeks as well. But Laois, look at Laois win their game in hand, and they're back on 5 points, so they're only a point off top as well. So, you know, it's literally, it is all to play for with any one of the six teams in this division. Any two of these six can still go up, and, you know, I think Longford and Wicklow probably look doomed at this stage. But you know, it's literally 2 from 6 here. You know, we're saying it's 2 from 3 probably in Division 2, but I think it's still 2 from 6 here when you take into account the games in hand.
Kev, Mick McCann, he's the same age and he's still going strong.
Yeah, Mick lasted a wee bit longer than me. Yeah, look, he's plugging away there. Superb to see. His qualities, a Rolls Royce of a footballer, very, very calm on the ball, plugging away. And also, I suppose I may say it, I'm actually surprised Matty maybe forgot about it. I did myself. Well, we're talking about Mick McCann. We also have to talk about Niall McNamee, you know, and that goal, the orgasmic goal that Offaly scored, you know. McNamee pops in again, you know, and what a player he's been. You know, the longevity these guys have is superb. But yeah, Mick's going well. Look, unlike other players maybe who go on longer, Mick's playing in the middle of the park. He's getting up and down the park. He had the chance to win the game, as Matty rightly pointed out, you know, to steal the game for Antrim, but, you know, it just popped over. But look, he's a great player, but he's also a very good leader, and sort of Antrim really need him at the minute because of a lot of guys coming through who are a wee bit wet behind the ears and can learn off him. So look, fair play to him, long may it continue, and you know, Antrim are in a real chance now. Everybody's sort of beating each other in that league. I still think Westmeath are by far the best quality team in the league, but you know, the defeat to Louth, which we'll come on to talk to now, was major. So you know, that league is probably the most interesting over the next 2 to 3 weeks of all the leagues.
And a proud Antrim man seeing him in Division 3, Kev.
Yeah, well, I actually played a few games in Division 2 for Antrim back in the day. We actually beat Meath, and then I think Tyrone beat us, Leash beat us, Kildare beat us. So yeah, I played up there. That's the highest I ever got. I think when we went down as far as Kildare, I got a bloody nose. So that was the highest we got to. But look, as Matty will tell you, as any footballer, you want to be playing at the highest level. You want to try and get up there, you know. And there's no doubts that we'll maybe come on to talk about it later when it comes about the championship. But when you're playing quality every week, I mean, some of the guys I was marking in them games in that particular National League, them 7 games, like, was just pure brilliant. You know, it just brought my game on so much. And I'm sure, like, Matty back in the day playing for Wexford, say Division 1, Division 2, you know, you're marking guys there like Anthony Lynch or Tom O'Sullivan or boys like that. You know, you'll only improve from it. So every player wants to get there. And, you know, that's the big task now for Antrim. Can they make that next step? And, you know, everything seems to be really positive. O'Neill and McGinley in there, and you know, it seems to be really good. They seem to be getting good support from the county board. The players seem to be going in the right direction. So, you know, unfortunately for Matty, you know, that's not the way it's been in Wexford. For Antrim, that was us traditionally, but now things seem to be so right, and you know, all credit to them.
Now, Kev, didn't I tell you just need a bit of patience?
There's patience and there's 125 years.
Oh lordy, he's at it again. Right, Pearse Park on Sunday. Fermanagh 311, Longford 110, and Matty, Johnny Murtagh may start eating his words.
Yeah, look, there wasn't too many of us, to be fair. I said, like, these results are happening now week in, week out in the league, where, you know, we called it there a couple of weeks ago that Louth were going down to Limerick to get beaten as well. And look, we can keep going. There's numerous more, but Fermanagh have actually gone from looking at relegation to putting themselves into the promotion picture, and like we just did not see that coming. You know, Johnny, Jesus, I was feeling sorry for Fermanagh after Johnny talking the other night. He you know, really hard to rat, and you know, they've always been pulling from a really small pool of players, and they've always been punching above their weight, in fairness to them, since, you know, probably since the early 2000s, you know, an All-Ireland quarter final and stuff like that. It's just unbelievable, you know, Ulster final. But you know, they've got themselves back in the picture. But you know, obviously Longford are in trouble in this division as well. And you know, these games in hand coming up the weekend are really interesting, because I think after this weekend there's going to be a much probably clearer picture in Division 3. It's one of the most open at the moment. But I think these games in hand will sort out a few issues over the weekend. But that's a brilliant win for Fermanagh away. You know, coming off, you know, 2 bad defeats, and you know, I think it was only 7 points that scored in round 2. So it was looking really horrible for them. But you know, they've got themselves back in, and they're doing a Fermanagh on it, and they're doing what they normally do, and said punch above their weight. But you know, Longford looking serious trouble in Division 3 here, and probably heading down, I think, maybe along with Wicklow.
Kev, big Sean Quigley, 2-3, honourable mention.
Yeah, Sean's a fantastic player. It depends what Sean you get, you know, and sometimes Sean, I've seen Sean in action and again play the tin whistle. I'd say the pub one night. Very talented man, you know, on the whistle. Very talented man with the feet. You know,
what about Seamus?
Another great character. Fair play to him. We need more of them in our game. But look, he's an outrageously talented guy. You know, and for Man, need him to step up to the mark, as Matty rightly articulated there, that look, they have a small player pool. The one thing I would say to people that are maybe watching this and don't, maybe are from the deeper south and don't really understand, for Man have a coach in Dominic called the manager in Kieran Donnelly. Kieran's one of the nicest fellas you'd ever meet in the GAA.
He's up in Cavan for a while. He was up in Cavan,
and he's a fantastic coach as well, and a really good lad. I think he's head of PE in Oma CBS, so he's up in Tyrone up there, but he plugs away. Kieran's a really good lad, a really positive fella, and look, yes, they had a couple of defeats, but look, they'll be on an upward trajectory now. They'll maybe targeted a couple of more games. They want to get themselves safe first. But, you know, Kieran, okay, he's in there in his first year, and it's a hard old post. But, you know, if anybody's going to make a go of it, Kieran will make a go of it. And, you know, he's widely respected in Fermanagh. I think he's Clucker in there as well, Ryan McCluskey, another guy widely respected. And if they're going to get the best, if Fermanagh want to get the best out of their players, there's no two better men to get them. And a lot of boys want to go out and play for them, the guys. So, look, best of luck to them.
Absolutely, Kevin. The next game in RD, you'd Louth 115, Westmeath 113, and Kev, this was the Sam Mullery show.
Look, what am I meant to say about him? Incredible. I think Matty said it off air. This guy's shooting his lights out, and all we can do is talk about it in podcasts that maybe 200 people, 300 people see. People write about it in papers. This guy should be right up there. You know, we talk about when we done our All-Star review last year, we talked about maybe Kilkenny getting into the team because of his National League consistency. This guy here, you know, what he's doing at the minute is incredible.
It'd be great to see him in action, Kev.
Well, you need to speak to people in RTE about that, but certainly I would like to see him in action. I think I seen him a couple of years ago, actually, up in Queens, and he was quite an impressive player. But look, nobody really seen this coming. Westmeath, for me, going into this league with a standout team. When you look at a player like as good as Haston, you see him backed up by people like Martin. You know, they just seem to be the team that maybe, you know, would easily get out of this league. When you go to Louth, you know, RD's not an easy place to go. Laois had gone there in the first game of the year. It was nip and tug for a while. Laois got a couple of goals. But, look, fair play to Louth. They've turned this league upside down. They really have. And now they've put themselves over the last two games in pole position. They were, as I say, first day out, they were a wee bit unlucky, performed okay. Second day out, their second half performance against Longford was horrendous. They were lucky to get out of there with a draw in the end. They didn't, I think they scored 1 or 2 points in the second half of that game. And then obviously their last two performances have been really, really good. They're in an upward trajectory. They play Antrim in RD or in Dundalk, wherever they've picked. So that will be a huge game for both teams. But when you have somebody as astute as Mickey Hart, again, very similar to what I said about Kieran Donnelly. One of the things I loved seeing about Mickey Hart last year when he first came into Louth, a lot of young lads, a lot of lads enthused to play for him, a lot of lads to learn off him. And certainly, you know, he's got them going in the right direction. Obviously, other people are going to have to step up to the mark. Sam Mulroy can only do so much. And people are going to get worried about that after, you know, 2, 3, 4 games. So, you know, it's up to others to step up to the mark. For Westmeath, look, obviously last week the game against Longford was called off, wasn't it? Last week before. So maybe that was a wee bit, maybe stinted their progress a wee bit. Maybe they underestimated Louth coming up there. But it's a severe kick between the legs for them. They're going to have to get back up in the wagon now. You know, this league will be unforgiving. Anytime that you don't perform, you know, you're going to be found out. They went to Laois. What a result. What a performance. And then all of a sudden they go to this. Bit Jekyll and Hyde. So, you know, they'll be looking for a big response next day out.
Division 4. Here we go. FBD Semple Stadium on Saturday. You Tipperary 113, Sligo 19. And Matty Ford, the Tipperary lads have finally gained their first points of the season.
Yeah, it was a struggle from what we've seen of it. You know, Sligo actually could have nicked it at the end, but again, that's my bugbear of National League 2022 so far is guys shooting on goal and balls coming off crossbars and posts and stuff like that. You know, so I was told young lads for years you get 3 points for hitting the bottom corner, the same as the top corner. But they got out of it. Look, I can't understand. You know, we spoke about them playing Wexford, and that game obviously was cancelled. I think it's on this weekend. We're nearly 2-1 to play Wexford in Wexford Park a couple of weeks ago. And to be honest, I couldn't figure it out. I know they had a poor start and losing heavily down there to Leitrim obviously didn't help. But you know, Tipperary are probably aren't a Division 4 team either. To be fair, they are a Division 3 team, I think, at least. And you know, it was probably only a matter of time. And said, look, we're seeing these results week in, week out in the league, where a team has a horrible result one week and turn around with a really good one the week after. So, you know, that's also put a big dent in Sligo's promotion hopes as well. And, you know, it's really given them a shot in the arm. And it's probably not ideally what Wexford wanted with them coming to town for the weekend for that refixture. But they're probably back in the hunt to a certain extent. But it was a good win from them. They played quite well and they were kind of in control for most of the match. But they were nearly robbed at the end.
Absolutely. Next game on Sunday, you had Wexford 11 points, London 1-6 in all the way in Ruislip. Matty Ford, you can't believe your luck. You took over against London, and they were on an absolute roll before that game.
Look, it was top v bottom was always going to be a comfortable Wexford. It was look at it. It was. Happy,
I'm tipping you for Leinster now, Matty.
It was, thanks, John. I'm not tipping you for Ulster, by the way. I just tell you this: there's no provincial champions coming out of Division 4. Just let me tell you that. Not that it's a big revelation, ranking, but no, look at it. It was scrappy by all accounts, but it's exactly what Wexford need because we've been losing games like that, similar to what Kevin was saying earlier on about Armagh. We've had a habit of losing tight and close and scrappy games like that over the last few seasons, and just it was nice to go away. It was. I think it was tough for them to have to go away. London are on a serious run, having won 3 matches in a row. I don't know if they've ever done it before, and Wexford going in having with no points, but to be able to go over there, and they've only lost to London over the last very recent. I think it was 2 seasons ago as well. So to go over there and get the win, I think it's a nice bit of a shot in the arm. I wouldn't say, they're not. I still think we're a little bit off good enough to be getting promoted this year. But it's a nice bit of a shot in the arm. At least look at it's a little bit of momentum with Tipperary coming to town at the weekend. But it was badly needed. Badly needed.
Some team, Matty.
Thanks, John. I know that comes from your heart there, but look at we can't all compete with Cavan in Division 4. A serious Ulster champions only very recently, and coming down trying to compete with us small fry. But look, we'll keep battling on. But I think, in all seriousness, the teams in Division 3 and 4, I think their progress has to be through the National League. Realistically, there's no provincial champions in Division 3 or 4 across any of the 4 provinces, and I know from our own time our progress came through going up through the divisions and climbing into 3 and staying, and climbing into 2 and staying, and then obviously it was 1A and B at the time, but we ended up in a Division 1 National League final with Armagh at the time. But we really seen our progress as getting up, trying to play these quality teams week in, week out, whether it was in Division 2 or 3 or 1 as it turned out as well, and trying to stick with them, because if you could do that week in, week out, you're giving yourself a chance in the championship, and ultimately that's where most of our progress came from. So look at why the league has to be the big deal for these 16 teams in 3 and 4. Progress is going to come through for any of these through the league, and I think Derry is a perfect example of that over the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, Matty, spot on. And the next game, Kingspan Breffni Park, Cavan 19 points, Carlow 112, and we're going up, baby, Kev.
Yeah, back to the summit for Cavan after a call off last week. Again, I suppose we'll have to talk about Groyd McKernan showing that leadership. I think Cavan lead from the 7th minute onwards in the game, and sort of that gloss at the end. The Carlo get the goal at the end, puts a bit of gloss on it. Look, John, we can talk all day and all night about this guy and that guy. Cavan, I've said this before, it's a box tick for Cavan. Another box tick, on to the next one. Obviously their preparations. It's about building momentum, building performances, looking at guys getting back up to stepping back up to where they were 2 years ago, looking at introducing some new blood. But, as I say, really impressed by the leadership shown by Groyd McKernan again. He'll be such a big player when it comes to the championship. I think you have Antrim first day out, don't you?
Yeah, nice easy one.
Yeah, so, he'll be such a pivotal figure in that game. And, that's what Mickey Graham's sort of building for. Look, I don't think any of us doubt that Cavan's going to get out of this league, and they just have to go along, get the boxes right, get the organisation right, work on the small things. How players are making decisions on the pitch in terms of when they're through in goal or things like that. So it's all just really mental at the minute for Cavan in terms of getting things mentally right, getting the campus and the environment as professional as possible. I think they'll win every game in this league, and as I say, roll on to the next one, tick that box, and look forward then to the championship. But I think Matty hit the nail on the head. Look, more than anybody else at the minute, the league is vitally important for Cavan. You get up this year, you look at getting up again next year with the squad that you have.
Definitely, Kevin. What about yourself, Matty? A good win for the boys in blue.
Yeah, look at it. It wasn't kind of as maybe comprehensive as we were thinking. There were some ridiculous price like 12 or 14 to 1 on or something like that. But Carlo made it difficult from by all accounts. I was trying to follow it on Twitter as well, and it wasn't as if they ran away with it in the end. It was 4 or 5 points in it at the end. But look it was a game they were never going to lose. They have their 6 points from 3 games. They still have London and Watford to play. You'd imagine, win those 2 games. Tip as well, obviously. Win they're going to be beating London, Watford, no disrespect to them, so that's your 10 points, and they're probably up. But look at ideally they probably actually need to win every game and then probably go and win the league final as well. Just to give them that nice bit of momentum going into the Antrim game. But look, they're far too, let's be serious, they are far too good for Division 4. But it's it can be hard, their teams, most games in Division 4 are dogfights, and it's trying to, as Kevin says, get their own game right as opposed to kind of worrying too much about what others are doing against them, and get the little bits and pieces right. Because look at, I guarantee you, Antrim are going to be no pushover in the first round of the championship, that's for sure. Look at, let's be fair, they're playing in Division 3 themselves. They're in the division above, so, and I'll tell you, they mightn't be too far from getting out of it themselves. To be fair, that said, teams are going to start taking points of each other, but Cavan are obviously too good for that division. But they need to kind of have to win every game. I think they will, to be fair. And results around them are happening pretty nicely from as well, where a few others are taking points off them, and I think it'll be a nice smooth passage back to Division 3 for you, John, anyway, and probably a league final victory as well. But look, that's only to be expected.
Yeah, thank you, Matty. Thank you very much. Last game of the weekend, lads. You had Leitrim 2-17, Waterford 1-13, all the way up in Waterford. Kev, what was the verdict in that one?
Yeah, but look, again, standard. Waterford, obviously, they got a decent win earlier on the league, but he's getting in there, and it's again a very hard task, a very hard post. Leitrim went down there. It's a convincing win. It's never an easy place. Matty said this before. It's never an easy place to go down to, but knocking 2-17, and the thing about Leitrim is, whilst I think we were on agreement that the Cavan are the one team that will get up for this league, I think that's 2 out of 4 now for Leitrim. People are going to take points off each other in the coming weeks. Leitrim are going to be thereabouts over the next 2 or 3 weeks when it comes to the fight for that second place as such in Division 4. So, looks as if it's going okay there for Andy Moore thus far. As I say, first season you're always breaking yourself in. I said to you last time out, I don't think he'll be targeting promotion just yet, but the signs are good. And look, you'd be expecting Leitrim to win against Waterford, no disrespect to Waterford. So again, job done.
But I'd say they're really kicking themselves over the London result the week before, at home, that they didn't get a win there, because had they got a win there, they're right in the promotion hunt. Look, they're still probably just about hanging in, but I think 6 points from 8 still kind of keeps them in the picture. Having lost narrowly to Cavan and performed quite well in round 1. They would fancy taking on a Sligo at home, I'm sure, who are probably looked like the second best team and went down and won impressively down in Semple Stadium. So I'd say they're really kicking themselves over that London result, which they would have obviously expected to win. But look at I think they're still in the hunt, getting similar to Division 3. Teams are going to take points off each other here, and Leitrim are still thereabouts. But it's like Kevin says, you'd been expecting them to go down to Waterford and win.
Beating London isn't for everyone, Matty.
No, look, it's probably only going to be the top teams in Division 4, John, to get 2 points off London this year. You know yourself, look, but as you say, it's not for everyone.
Oh, quality stuff, lads, quality stuff. A brief look ahead to this weekend. The games that were rescheduled that were called off last weekend, and in Division 3, Round 3, that was refixed. It's Westmeath against Longford in TEG Cusack Park at 2 p.m. on Saturday. So, Kev, what is the thoughts ahead of that one?
Well, it's a must-win for Westmeath, obviously. So, I mean, they're at home. Manny's already sort of articulated very well. Look, Longford are in deep trouble in this league. There's a bottom 2 and maybe a top 6 in this league. Westmeath, certainly, they need to get back on the wagon. They need to pull out a real big performance here, because then they'll have a game coming the week after as well. So I think they're maybe Antrim the week after. They're away to Antrim the week after. So that'll be a hell of a game for how this league develops. So look, Westmeath have a great quality in the squad, and that was the one result, I suppose, last weekend that really surprised me really surprised me. I was expecting Westmeath to go up there and sort of skittle Louth, and it didn't happen. So look, they'll be looking to get back. Longford, look, they're having a lot to offer at the minute in this league, and I think all three of us conventional wisdom will tell us that Westmeath will win here.
Absolutely. Yeah, in the next game, we have Fermanagh against Laois in Brewster Park at 3:30. The last time these teams played each other was in the championship back in 2015, and Sean Quigley ate a pizza the night before. So, how many pizzas this time, Matty?
Jesus, the way he performed the weekend, he could probably at least have another one anyway, couldn't he? And maybe a little side of wedges or something. But look, I'll tell you, this is, we'd have been discussing this game pretty differently if it was played originally. We were only looking at one result in it, which probably was Laois going up and winning. But the landscape has changed a little bit in just the space of a week, where Fermanagh after getting a really impressive away win and Laois drawing home to Westmeath. So I think the winner of this, you have to start thinking that, I think Fermanagh are Laois, are odds on to win the game. But I'll tell you one thing, the bit of momentum from last week, from Fermanagh's victory, I'll tell you, there'll be a dangerous enough opponent this weekend. Tough place to go to, quite intimidating. I think we were on about atmosphere and that in Park Esler. I think you will see a bit of atmosphere in Brewster Park. They love their football up there, and it can be quite an intimidating place. And I don't think, or I do think, Fermanagh at I think it's about 7-4 are pretty tempting, because the loser of this game is out of promotion race, and Fermanagh, who looked out of it only a week and a half ago, are right back in the picture. And I think they get a win at home on Sunday. I think they can put themselves back in the picture, and I think that I'd actually nearly just about go for Fermanagh. I know we've tipped home teams that have lost before over the last number of weeks in the league, but I think they're a stubborn crowd at home, and the last home performance will really have hurt them. But I said they've got momentum, I think, from last weekend, some really good victory and putting up a big score. But look, obviously Laois are a better team than Longford also. But I'd go for Fermanagh here.
And Matty, what side would you have with your pizza if you ever get one from the takeaway?
Just probably another pizza, to be fair. Just a smaller one.
What about yourself, Kev?
You wouldn't believe it, John. I was last weekend. I was in an Italian in Glasgow, and they gave me an Irish pizza: chicken, ham, cheese, and potato. It was unbelievable, man.
Oh man, how much is that?
I dare say I can't tell you that for legal reasons.
Very good.
Moving on swiftly.
Moving on swiftly. Right, Sunday, Alliance Football League Division 2 Round 3, Galway against Offaly, Pearse Stadium, 2 p.m. Kevin McGurdy, what's the thoughts out of that one?
You'd be expecting a Galway victory here, quite simply. If Galway have any mindset of going up, I did mention that they're a bit of Jekyll and Hyde, but look, they have good quality up front. We've seen not 2 years ago they beat Kerry in Croke Park, and 3 years ago in the Super 8s, maybe. So look, you'd be expecting a good performance from Galway. Nothing less than 2 points will do. I expect them to do a professional job. Okay, Mayo will take some heart from Offaly will take some heart from last weekend. In a game they should have won against Meath. Let's be honest, Meath pulled it out at the end. So look, maybe going a wee bit dejected over the Pearse Stadium because they really think they should have got 2 points. This is not the game that's gonna determine Offaly's league position. They probably know that this is one of the games that, a bit like Donegal come down to Kerry, they've chalked off the board. It ain't happening for them. So, they'll concentrate on the last couple of games, the last 3 games, against opposition around them, like Cork, like Down. So I think that most of us would expect Galway to win and win quite handsomely.
Absolutely. And then Division 4, Round 3, you have Sligo against Cavan in Mark Fitzpark at 2 p.m. on Sunday. So, Matty, you said Sligo last time. What are you saying this time?
Yeah, I did. But Jesus, things have changed dramatically. And this is the great thing about the National League. You're really bigging up a team 1 week, and then all of a sudden, they let you down with a bang. As Wexford have done with me on a few occasions. But in all seriousness, I think things have changed. Cavan as we've said on numerous occasions now, are the best team by some distance in Division 4. That will have really dented. Sligo could probably have afforded to lose the first game to Cavan had it been played a couple of weeks ago, and then maybe go down. You would expect them, the way things were going, to go down and win in Tipperary, but that didn't happen. So, it's changed again. I still actually give them a squeak here. Cavan, Cavan have a free shot somewhere along the league where they can afford to lose a game. They're still 100% going up. Maybe they'll take the eye after ball a little bit after Sligo's defeat the weekend. I still give Sligo a bit of a shout. Are they definitely going to win? No, absolutely. I don't think they're definitely going to win, but I still give Cavan a bit of a shout here. I went for him 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to stick to my guns. And it's Cavan winning is not going to be a major surprise, I think, to anyone. It's obviously probably the most likely outcome. But I just have a sneaking feeling that Sligo are going to make it fairly tricky for them at home, and I think they'll be reasonably well set up. McEntee will have them well organised, and he has a bit of a stick to beat him with this week as well. So they're heading back to Markovich Park, which is a tough enough place to go to. But I give them a little bit of a squeak here the weekend, John. I think, and look, I might come on here and on Monday night and Cavan will won by 14 points or something. But anyway, look at this. I think saying it'll be a Cavan victory, I think, is the easy thing to do. But no, I do give Sligo a bit of a shout.
What about yourself, Kev?
I think very quickly on it that Matty's 100% right about Sligo being Markovich Park being a hard place to go. McEntee will have them set up, but realistically, I think Cavan have too much for anybody in this league, and it's quite simply that. Look, when you've got somebody like Martin Riley working as hard as he is, when you've got Groyd McKiernan on the form that he's in, and the bench that they have as well. Look, a lot of Ulster Championship winners in that bench from 2 seasons ago, and I just think Cavan have far too much for anybody in this league, no matter what's put in front of them.
We were always that step ahead, Kev.
Well, Jelly always has you that step ahead, yeah.
Wexford against Tipperary, Chadwick's Wexford Park, 2 p.m. Matty Ford, can you contain your excitement for that game?
Yeah, just about. I think I should be able to get in. I think anyway. That's going to be the most important thing. I don't think it's going to be a full house. By all accounts.
You get it for free anyway.
What my shite. There'd be times down there to charge you double if they could. Look, to be honest, I haven't changed my mind too much on this from the original fixture. I know they both got wins since, but I think at the moment we are a bit behind Tipperary. Probably along with Cavan, they're one of obviously the better teams in Division 4, and it's only 2 years ago they were Munster champions. I just think that win at home to Sligo is probably a little bit better form than Wexford's win away to London, albeit look, it was top versus bottom, but I don't think that was a realistic slant on the Division 4 table at the time either. I do think it'll be difficult for Wexford the weekend. I know they've got the momentum of that win, but we've had trouble over the last couple of seasons putting back-to-back wins together in the league, and I think it could be tricky enough for us on Sunday, if I'm being honest.
Wait and see. Last but not least, lads, I know there's not much of a pick, but we'll try it anyway. Player to watch this weekend and bet at the weekend, Matty? Player to watch, bet of the weekend. I know, and I'm probably shouldn't be saying this. I do think Tipperary are very good value going to Wexford. They're a shade of odds against. I just think for value, look, we can pick probably a Cavan at 1 to 3 or something like that, but I don't think there's any value in it. Probably Conor Sweeney. The fact that we actually get a chance to see him up close and personal, I think he's a fantastic footballer, and he looked to be coming back into some bit of form last weekend. It's probably one of the more obvious ones of the weekend, but it'd be nice to see him up close. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and it'd be nice to get a proper look at him. Hopefully not too good of a look, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. Very good. Last word with Kevin McGurty. It's always a good idea.
Bet of the weekend, Fermanagh to win at home against Laois. And player to watch, I suppose Sean Quigley's pretty obvious. There's a young lad played centre back, James McMahon, for Fermanagh. Very, very good player, great reader of the game, very much in the same mode. Not as tight at marking as Ryan McCluskey, who Matty would know quite well. I think maybe he was hanging out of your back pockets on your brace.
How good was McCluskey, Matty? Just on a side note, how good was he?
He was excellent. He was very good. We played him we played him over that period a load of times. Thankfully, I only got stuck with him literally once or twice because he obviously spent a good bit of time out as centre back, and exactly what Kevin, I think, was finished what he was going to say. He was such a good reader of the game. He knew kind of to be where to be 2 and 3 seconds before most other fellas did. But I only got caught up with him in the extra time of the league final in Parnell Park I think it was 2008, and he is a nightmare. Really good footballer, really good fella. No nonsense, tough, hard, quick, aggressive, everything you'd want in a defender, in a cornerback. And he's a bit of a nightmare. He's one of these guys to say nothing to you. And as I always said, they're the ones you want to be more worried about, and the lads that are going to tell you what they're going to do, because the likes of McCluskey and Sean Marty Lockhart and guys that he's actually going to do without saying it. And I said they're the ones you really want to be scared of.
There we go. There we go. Any more comments? Or are we happy enough?
All good.
All
yeah,
good.
no, look, I think there'll be a lot of stuff sorted out in Division 3 with these few back games over the weekend, and I think we'll have a much clearer picture probably early next week going into round 5 of what's actually happening in Division 3 anyway, and things will become a good bit more clearer for us.
Definitely, Manny.
And just one last one, John. Don't be bringing your student card down to Markovitz Park, will you? You're not a student anymore, kid.
No, you can't wear the mask now either, so they will recognise that you're out of your teens, so you're screwed. You may bring an extra $5.
I actually bought a ticket for the last day. The game was called off, so I'm going to have to sell it, Kev. It's double the price if anyone wants it.
Yeah, you bought it off Amazon. I know you.
You probably tried to get into the cinema some way then anyway to make sure you got use of it.
Oh God. Lads, it's good to have the banter. If you don't have the banter, you have nothing. Lads, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by Kerry Office Supplies. Office Supplies business based in West Kerry. For more information, email the lads on info@kerryofficesupplies.com. Manny, Kevin, thanks a million.
Cheers, John.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Kev.